Good afternoon, everybody. Again, I would like to tell you thank you for joining me this afternoon for another study of Genesis and the creation. Last week, we delved a little bit into day number 6. Day number 6. And we ended at Genesis 1, verse 28. And if you remember, after God created man, He told them to be fruitful and multiply. Now, I wanted to just spend a little bit more time on that text or that command. This principle, while given at creation, is also one of the principles that science agrees with. God said it, and science echoes it. What do I mean by that? When you study science and the talk of evolution, talks of origin of the species, survival of the fittest, it gives you the idea, and it actually tells you that success is based upon the ability for you to reproduce. Success is based upon the ability for you to have your genes spread around. There's nothing to live for, so really you're here, and the essence is the more offspring you have, the more successful you are. I dare say there have been men who have actually lived by that principle. Go out trying to have as many offsprings as they could. The stronger or dominant lion or bull, they tend to be the one that reproduce the most. So the genes would survive. As a matter of fact, when you put a dominant bull into an area where you have a lot of cows, after a while you start to see some changes, some phenotypical changes, that the offspring looks like the dominant bull. As a matter of fact, some of you might want to go home and check and see if you look more like the postman or the milkman. And that's just a sidebar. Success in evolutionary terms is the ability to spread your genes. God's command to multiply, however, was not for that purpose. In this text, it says that replenish the earth, to subdue it, and to have dominion over the earth. If evolution was the answer to our origin, then the process of procreation would never stop. And it makes sense. If there's nothing to live for, nothing to go on, and it becomes just a matter of your genes keep going, then the process of procreation would never stop. Right now, the birth rate in many of the first world countries are at a low. Young people don't necessarily care to have kids. As a matter of fact, when you go to certain countries, they have to import workers. I've been to Italy, and they have to import workers to do some of the farming and some of the other stuff. I've heard about Canada. There's certain areas that they have to get people in to do. And as a matter of fact, when you think of America and think of how we are right now and what we do and the mindset of many of the young ones, you can almost get a picture that if I was to live to be 70s, 80s, I would have to be concerned if there will be that workforce to continue supporting the social security system and the Medicare system to pay for my expense when that time comes. As a matter of fact, in addition to that mindset of not necessarily wanting to have as many kids as our foreparents, you now have that alternate lifestyle alternate lifestyle goes against even the principle and the laws of evolution. So one could ask, if we came here by evolution, then we should continue to live out the principles of evolution. We should be growing and gaining more knowledge and trying to allow our generation to live as long as we can. But actually, when you look at the world today, you realize that the opposite is true. When you take God out of the picture, rather than us living long, we live shorter. We die from catastrophes. We die from hate crimes. As a matter of fact, when you actually analyze it, you realize for us to truly live long, we have to follow the principles that was set before us in the Holy Bible. You think of the commands, and we're not there yet, and I apologize for jumping, but when you look at it, I should love my brother, I should take care of the less fortunate, I should do things, and you find that together, when we work together, we have the best chance of making it together. The Bible also, interestingly, did make certain predictions. Some people say, well, you know what? I can't believe the Bible. But actually, if you go in the Bible, and I'll give you this as a homework, look in the Bible and realize that the Bible says as we get closer to the end of time, even our mindset of what the family should be and what the purpose of procreation and all of this will be so turned upside down that we won't even care. It says, as it was in the days of something and something and something, and that's your homework, so it shall be in the end. Today, people don't like to do homework, so I might as well tell you and give you a clue. Look up Luke 17. In that chapter, 28 and 29, you could focus on those. It tells you that as it comes close to the end of time, our attitude will change. And then you can look up the story of exactly what it talks about in the Old Testament. That's just a sidebar. So you find that our lifestyle even now goes against what evolution would say. As we continue reading, verse 29, it says, and God said, behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in the which is the fruit of the tree yielding seed, to you it shall be for meat. So after God blessed them, He told them that this will be your diet. And that's a mouthful. God set everything in place. You remember we spoke about how He furnished the earth. He created all the grass and the trees. And here it is, He's telling you now that I have given you every herb bearing seed which is upon the face of the earth, and every tree in which is the fruit of the tree yielding seed, to you it shall be for meat. When you continue reading also, verse 30, it says, and to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creepeth upon the earth, wherein there is life, I have given every green herb for meat, and it was so. So God created us, and He knew what was best for us as far as to maintain us. And so He created a system where we would get energy. The reason we eat is to get energy, to function. And He said, I've given you every tree that bears a fruit, that has a seed for you that should be for your meat. And when you consider it, if you contemplate it, you realize how smart God is. When God created the earth, He did not create it so that something would have to die to create life. I'm sure many of you didn't think about that. Nothing died to sustain life. And so He said, listen, I have given you everything, every green herb bearing seed, and for you it shall be for meat. So what happens is this. And I can imagine back then you didn't have all the GMOs and you didn't have all these different things. Everything had a seed that was initially to be eaten. And so you take a fruit and you eat it. And I can imagine when the seed falls, you have another tree. So God gave us these things for food. And actually, when you study the word, when you listen to science, now, on my side job, I'm a physician. No, I think it's the opposite way. I'm a physician on my first job. This is just doing some Bible study. But I can tell you that a healthy lifestyle, optimum health, you can gain from following what God's plan for your diet was. Some people call it a vegan diet. And as a matter of fact, many times when you look at the products that we consume in medications, and there's certain herbal stuff that people take that has antioxidants and all this stuff, you realize that those things come from plant products. Plants don't create cholesterol. If I ask you what's the number one killer in the United States and many of the first world countries, and actually even in the third world countries now, everybody's in the same boat. I know you would think of COVID, corona, but the answer is still cardiac. The number one cause of death. What's some of the risk factors for coronary artery or cardiac disease? Well, high cholesterol. Where does cholesterol come from? Animal products. As a matter of fact, the way you prepare it, if you fry it, deep fat fry it versus barbecuing it or boiling it or broiling it, you find that you're able to get more of the fat, and when you eat that fat and it goes in your system and the body breaks it down, it ends up clogging the arteries. Now if you're eating the other type of diet, you wouldn't have that problem. The next cause of death is cancer. When you look at the stuff that we eat, the high fat diet and the way we prepare it, if you barbecue it, you realize that we create radicals, free radicals, that it affects our body and it causes cells to start to multiply out of control. As a matter of fact, if you put on enough weight, you find that just the weight itself can be a precursor to creating estrogen and also to create cancer. So you find that our diet plays a significant role. The other thing to keep in mind is this. Do we realize that right now there is not enough animals in the wild to support our lifestyle? And so we are dependent upon these big farming communities that they will have a chicken, they will lay an egg, and within a couple of weeks you have a big chicken. I remember when I came from Jamaica, you used to have these chickens that run wild. I mean, they were fit, they were lean and fit. And, when I came to America, I saw some chicken legs that when you look at them, even my hand looks small. They're pumped up with steroids, they're pumped up with antibiotics, they're pumped up just so that they can get from the farm to the table. And so you find that right now, there's not enough livestock in the wild to support the level of meat that we consume. And the answer is, I didn't ask the question anyway, but the answer is, it's not healthy. It's not the best health, because the God who created us, he said, this is what I'm going to give you for your diet, for you and for all the animals. As a matter of fact, there are many people here who I'm sure thinking that eventually they're going to go to heaven. Now, do you think when you go to heaven, you're going to be out there running down Bambi? Poor Bambi. Do you think you're going to be going out there and fishing? Listen, I love fish. And even Jesus, when he was here, he helped the disciples to catch some fish. But the concept I want you to get inside here, that the appetite that we have now was not the initial appetite. Everything ate fruits. The tree had to be able to grow. Nothing was killed to sustain life. As we continue, verse 31. Or verse 30, it says, and to every beast, repeating this, and to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creepeth upon the earth, wherein there is life, I have given every green herb for meat. And it was so. When God created, he said, listen, this is what I'm giving you for your food. Nothing died. It was a perfect world. As a matter of fact, verse 31 says, and God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and the morning were the sixth day. So after God created everything and put it in place, methodically, one step after another, telling us to be fruitful and multiply, letting us know that, listen, this is what's going to be for your diet. He then ended by saying this, his handiwork, his artwork, the painting that when you look and you look at yourself, you become a part of that painting. You become that crowning act. You become next to the signature. He said, it is very good. Thank you as you consider what was said. Continue to study. Next time we start with Genesis chapter 2, which I think you're going to like even more than Genesis chapter 1. Thank you.